Hey everyone, this is Shreyas and welcome back to another video after a long while. Now, after a long wait, personally, I got my hands on the Google Pixel 6 Pro. Thanks to a very nice friend of mine who went out of their way to help me get these in my hands as soon as possible. I have been using this phone for only 5 or 6 days now, so I don't think it's a good time to give my full review of the same, but I have been using the OnePlus 9 Pro as my daily driver and primary phone for over the last 6 months. So I thought it's a good time to compare and see what differences the Google Pixel 6 Pro offers. A lot of markets, I think the Google Pixel 6 Pro is slightly cheaper or similarly priced to the OnePlus 9 Pro unless you have promotions going. So that's something to consider to begin with. Also considering about the support that you get offline and online regarding OnePlus phones in your region is something to consider, because in Europe and US the Pixel has better support, which is not the case in my country India, but yeah, that's an advantage you have. But the unfortunate part about the 6 Pro is the limitation in terms of the availability. So that's something you should keep in mind, how much money it is costing you to import, etc. The OnePlus 9 Pro is considerably cheaper even if you convert the US price directly without taxes and without any import. So that's something to consider, especially because I saw this go as low as 55,000 in India, whereas the Google Pixel 6 Pro being $899 with taxes, etc. will at least cost you around 70 to 75,000 rupees. Now let's get on with the comparison, and if you are looking forward to more Pixel 6 Pro related content, its camera comparison, special features and its long-term full review, then make sure to stay subscribed on the channel, drop a like and maybe turn on notifications so that you don't miss out when I put out those videos. So with that said, this is Shreyas and let's check these out. Let's start with the design and build quality of the phone. I have no complaints about the build quality of the Pixel 6 Pro in my opinion, because the materials used are the highest end. It has a stainless steel frame and it has got Gorilla Glass fixtures on the front and the back. So it's top of the line in that way. Whereas the OnePlus 9 Pro is a step down. It has an aluminium frame, also has Gorilla Glass 5 on the front and the back of the phone. So that's something to consider in terms of durability. But in terms of feel, unfortunately the Google 6 Pro has glossy glass in all its variants. The only thing I would suggest is try getting the lighter colors, because the fingerprints will be less visible if you don't use a case. But here's where the OnePlus 9 Pro just takes the cake for me. The back finish on this, the matte black color, and even in the green variant, I think it looks absolutely stunning and feels better as well. And the next thing is about weight and distribution of that weight. The 6 Pro is slightly heavier than the OnePlus 9 Pro, but this is a bigger phone in size, so it does not feel as dense or very heavy. And the weight distribution is done very well, so if you hold it from the center of the phone, it balances it out very well. The same is valid for the OnePlus 9 Pro, but the OnePlus 9 Pro feels a bit dense because it's smaller in size. The weight balancing on the OnePlus 9 Pro is something really great as well. It will again balance itself if you hold it from the center of the phone. Overall, I am okay with a bigger phone, and to be honest, I enjoy the real estate on the screen, especially because I use split screen a lot on my phones. So that's there. Now coming on the front of the phone, it's about the displays. Now both of these have 2K 120Hz adaptive refresh rate displays. So the refresh rate is something I want to come down on, because there are app specific things over here. YouTube app does not work at 120Hz on the OnePlus 9 Pro. So that's something I wanted to make it clear. The 6 Pro under harsh sunlight in auto brightness is slightly brighter than the OnePlus 9 Pro. Now the OnePlus 9 Pro is easily visible under bright sunlight. The screen, you can read through the screen, and I honestly use it in dark mode as well, so I did not face any issues. But I'm kind of happy that the 6 Pro is a bit brighter, so it makes it easier to read in no matter where you are, under bright sunlight or in the dark. And the other thing is that the 6 Pro is always going to be at 1440p, because there is no setting that I could find which could scale down the Pixel 6 Pro display to 1080p for battery conservation or whatever the case. But the OnePlus 9 Pro can be scaled down to to 1080p, and I honestly used it in the 1080p mode for the major part of my usage of the OnePlus 9 Pro. Now let's come to performance and how the daily usage is. I want to start with battery life and charging. The OnePlus 9 Pro is not the greatest in terms of battery life. I got maximum of 6 hours of screen on time. It ranged from around 4.5 hours of screen on time to 5.5 hours of screen on time. So very mediocre battery life, that's something to consider. But where it topped off is about the fast charging and fast wireless charging. And not to mention that you get the fast charger in the box, which is 65 watts. It supports PD charging as well, both the phone and the charger. So PD charging is capped to 45 watts on the phone and on the charger as well if you charge any other device with it. Whereas the Pixel 6 Pro does not come with a charger in the box. That's something to keep in mind. It supports PD standard of charging because I tried 45 watt PD charging and it charged faster than usual. So that's good news, but it's not at all as fast as the OnePlus 9 Pro because that gets charged under 35 minutes in my estimate. The Pixel 6 Pro easily takes an hour if you are charging at 45 watts, but I would like to make it clear that I kept it in adaptive charging mode, so I have to test it out even more and I'll report back to you about the charging speeds finally, regardless of the mode, in the full review of the Pixel 6 Pro, so stay tuned for that and subscribe. The next thing is about the battery life. I don't know what sorcery went around here, but I am getting insane battery life on the Pixel 6 Pro. I used my phone for around 6 hours of screen on time throughout the day. After a full charge, I found out that I had almost 40% left when I went to bed. Now that's more than my usual usage on the OnePlus 9 Pro, because I have to charge it once a day. Google Pixel 6 Pro is almost a 1.5 day phone. I don't know how it's being possible, or it will change in the future. I will conclusively tell you in the final review because I have only charged this thrice till now. Pleasantly surprised, especially because the screen is bigger, brighter. It is also running at 1440p constantly, whereas the battery life I discussed about the 9 Pro was at 1080p. Surprising, I know, right? Now about day-to-day performance, I had no issues on the day-to-day performance in my Pixel 6 Pro. It was running fine. I did not see any, system UI crashes, no app crashes, no lags or stutters in the refresh rate. It has been extremely smooth, and honestly the app animations on the Pixel 6 Pro are really pleasing. One more thing I would like to mention is that I was running the OnePlus 9 Pro throughout this comparison with OxygenOS 11 and not 12. I did install the first version of OxygenOS 12. I was extremely disappointed. Not just the bugs, it's about all the features and how it's being baked in and the UI in general. So I went back to OxygenOS 11, and the second rollout of OxygenOS 12 is something I have not caught up to or adopted or don't plan on adopting as well personally. Whereas the Pixel 6 Pro comes with Android 12 out of the box, and it's been fun. I have had a taste of Android 12 on my Pixel 4a. I made detailed videos about the same, so you can check them out in the card up here or over here. But Android 12 has been really good to me, and the Pixel exclusive features are something that I'm enjoying because I really wanted the Pixel exclusive features in my primary phone, which I'm finally able to do so. Another thing I want to talk about is that there was a lot of fuss about the fingerprint sensor. I just want to confirm that the fingerprint sensor is definitely better on the OnePlus 9 Pro. The OnePlus 9 Pro unlocks almost instantaneously, whereas the Pixel 6 Pro takes half a second. I did not really have multiple occasions of failure of unlock. Maybe it's the way I registered my fingerprint, maybe it's because I'm not using it to work pretty well, or I did not have a scenario in which it failed because it's been only 5 days. But again, I will report it in detail in my final review. Now the other thing which the Pixel is always known for but OnePlus isn't is about the camera. Now I felt that the OnePlus 9 Pro had really good cameras, especially for the price in my region. So in my region, it was around 65,000 rupees where it launched, and for that money, I think it was one of the better cameras, if not the best. Well, Pixels are known for its cameras for the longest time, and this time they made some hardware changes on the Pixel 6 Pro catch up to the competition. So here are some samples I took on both on the OnePlus 9 Pro and the Pixel 6 Pro, and I'll try to show you the differences that I see. Here are some daylight samples. You can see a stark difference in the white balance and the saturation in the greens and the blues. In the ultrawide, we can see the field of view of the ultrawide of the 6 Pro is not as much as the 9 Pro. In HDR conditions, the shadow details are crushed by the 9 Pro clearly. Same story continues in the ultrawide as well, and the field of view again is clearly seen. This is during relatively low light, and you can see the details in the leaves are more on the 6 Pro photo. Same here over about the shadow details getting crushed in the 9 Pro picture. Coming to the telephoto, it has a 3x and a 4x individually, but the 4x is way sharper. You can see over here the leaf details are gone because it's a 8 megapixel sensor on the 9 Pro. Here you can see the smudgy mess it makes at 20x zoom. This is an indoor light shot just to understand the depth of field and also the color representation. Coming to selfies, you can see that the skin tones is really messed up on the 9 Pro. It is decent when the HDR is not as great, but Pixel has a trick up its sleeve about the ultra wide on the selfie camera. So this is a video capture from both at 4K 30 FPS. I'm walking around right now. Try to make out how the stabilization is. Can't really see, the sun is very bright, so here's kind of testing the HDR. You can see a small lens flare on the 6 Pro. So this is the standard stabilization mode. Now what I'll do is switch to the ultra wide. So yeah, in both phones we can switch to the ultra wide while recording. That's great, but there is a 2x digital crop clearly on the 9 Pro, and here's on the 6 Pro from the main sensor. But over here I just went to the 4x mode and I think the pixel just changed to the telephoto, so it's looking pretty crisp in my eyes right now. Let's see if we can find some birds. Right there. So this is the front facing video. You can see it's very much cropped out and the HDR is very poor in the 9 Pro, as you can see against the light over here. And also one more thing, the 9 Pro gets capped out at 1080p, whereas the Pixel 6 Pro over here has 4K, but not 4K 60, 4K 30 only. To be very honest, I am really happy about the Pixel 6 Pro and its camera. So it is a upgrade overall. The selfie camera has been disappointing for OnePlus for a while, even though the rear cameras have come up a long way. The Pixel 6 Pro, first of all, the field of view is excellent. I really enjoyed it. If you have people in the display as well, it really helps. Even if you try to vlog, it's more helpful because of the wider field of view. Another thing is the processing, the skin tones, how it is retaining everything. The HDR processing is way better on the Pixel 6 Pro. I never really take a lot of selfies, but maybe the Pixel 6 Pro will make me take more selfies. Even previously, I used my Pixel 4a to take selfies, although I had the OnePlus 9 Pro with me all the time. So yeah, overall, that's my comparison between the OnePlus 9 Pro and the Pixel 6 Pro. Now again, I will take my time, review this particular device and report back to you about how I feel it, especially in a region where the Pixel 6 Pro is officially not available. Probably look forward to more Google devices that might come down to India. That's been it for this particular video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, drop a like, subscribe to the channel and make sure to turn on notifications. Hope to see you in my next one.